Hey guys, my name is Luke Rioux. I just got back from Ontario, California, playing at the Spring Fest 2022 Bushiroad Weiss Schwarz tournament. Ended up getting first place with my team. For the tournament, I played Kaguya-sama, and I will go ahead and show you guys the deck list and explain a little bit of what I ran. So first off, we ran 18 level 0s in this deck. So it is a bit more than I think most decks will like to run, but I think after some of the ban lists, it was a little rough with some of the zeros that got hit, so I feel like adding just a few more to make your early game a little stronger is pretty important. So our first card, of course, is going to be our Ayasaki. This is just your #1 staple in the deck. This was in the ban list of you could only choose one of the 3 level 0s, and this is the one that you just kind of have to go with. Sad to see the other ones go, but there's too much value that this card brings. Super important in the deck. Now, going on to the next pretty staple level 0 that also didn't get hit, which is still super strong, is running 4 of the Runner Suicider. Just a base 1k power, so it's pretty good against any single deck other than like Mushoku really. But otherwise, of course, some pretty broken abilities into it. You love to see opening this. Moving on to our last 4 of in the level 0s is opting for the 500 Yuno. Pretty standard. His best ability going to be the buffer for 2k. Now that a lot of Kaguya is very weak in the level 1 to 2 combos, so always giving extra power in other cards is pretty important, as well as his second ability, which came up way more often than I expected to, of just paying 1 to having him run to the back row as the opponent starts their attack phase. It's really strong. There was certain times facing 8 standbys where I would have to pass my second turn to be able to ensure that I get level 1 first. And keeping him on the board by just paying my 1 stock was almost every single time worth it. So he was really strong as well. Now moving on to just some of the support cards that we run. We're going to be running 3 of our spammable Brainstorm. I like running 3 of. I think the biggest strength that Kaguya is that getting any card you want at any time. Spammable Brainstorm, of course, is really good. Fishing out any climaxes in your stockpile, or just skimming through your deck. So really strong to be running 3 of these. And now we will be running 2 of our climax swappers. It is a 4 standby, 4 door deck. And especially at level 1 to 2, getting your standbys out when you need them is really important. So having the wrong climax in hand can be a little rough. Of course, just running this though, 2 of them, just to make it just a little more consistent rather than the 1 of, helps out a lot. And lastly, for our last level 0, is just going to be our standard pay 3 stock swapper, also a twin driver, just a really good general card. I used this a few times in top 8, both for 8+ stock swaps. It just comes in clutch when you need it to, and again, there's so many ways to just search out anything you want in your waiting room or deck, so it's almost guaranteed that you can get to it. So really strong. Was a much stronger level 0 before the ban list, of course, but I think now it's just still just pretty good. It's like probably A tier, I would say. So now we'll go and move on to our level 1s. Level 1s are pretty standard. There's only 1 big card that will run in here that I'll have a bit to talk about, but for now, we just have our 1/1s level assist, super generic back rows, just 4,500 base. It does have a second effect of just using your other Aya for resonate. So if you don't want to say brainstorm, or if you don't have the back row room anymore to have a brainstormer back there, having her instead is really strong of just looking at top 3, picking a character and pitching the rest. And this is also going to be the first reason why we need to be running this level 0 over the others. So running 2 of, really strong. Moving on to our next level 1 is going to be running 3 of our 1/0 Presidents. Now, this card right here is at the least the second best card that we run in the deck. Really, really good. I think this is just a mandatory card to be running into standbys. I think the experience value is really, really strong. Against level 2s, he can get to a 12-5 base on your turn before counting any other buffers that you'll be running. So things again like Mushoku, Slime, or any other kind of, like even the mirrors, this is really, really strong to run. I did run 3 of. I know most people that I faced were only running 2. I just think I just made this play, and there's honestly probably an argument where you can run 4 of these. I just chose to run 3 for this tournament. So really, really strong card there. Lastly, we will be having our level 1 climax combo. It's pretty strong again. The only real downside with this and a lot of the rest of the deck for our big plays will be everything will need to have a reverse effect. And this is the only one that stays pretty small in power level of just a base 5k without being able to buff itself, as well as its climax being the standby. So getting out your Ayasakis, stuff like that is really, really strong. Kind of a must-have. It's really, really hard to tri-field this level 3 combo. To be able to get all 3 of them big enough to get over is really, really hard. This is another reason why you kind of just want to sometimes pass or even end your early game to ensure you get level 1 first and be able to face level 0s. It's more common to just have 2 out, maybe even just 1 if that's all you get. But super, super strong. Getting to search any kind of card that you want in your deck again for free this time is really, really strong. It's a good way to skim through your deck if you really need to. So level 1, pretty consistent, I would say. Moving on to our level 2s. It's a really, really small pile of level 2s here, but I think all of them still will play their purpose. So starting off with our backups, we are only running 2 of the refresh backups of the 2500 powers. I don't like running any other backups in this deck. I know there was a list that was playing the level 1 that was a red backup, and there was another list that played something else that I can't remember off the top of my head. But running too many backups just feels kind of pointless with how your level 3 combo works and how your early plays are going to be. I just don't feel like you don't get to use them, and against something again like Mushoku that also says you don't get to use backups, it just feels kind of like dead draws. So there's more room to be made in the deck for other cards. So moving on to our first level 2 actual play is going to be the Chica. Just 6k base, getting to a 10k flat if you have 2 in the back row. With its second main ability just being able to pitch, and both you and your opponent will be able to refresh their waiting room. In practice, this card was pretty good. I didn't always see it come out as the most effective. Of course, playing it from hand means that you're playing it for 2 stock rather than the backup being from 3. And of course, a little more control being able to play it when you want to on your turn. But I just genuinely didn't really use this at all in tournament. It was more so always just for its 10k power. It sucks that it wasn't better, but I was debating running it in the first place. I just went with it though. But yeah, it's not too big of a difference compared to the other level 2, which will be running 2 of the U's. Very, very similar, just yellow again, 2 cost of course, and getting to a max of 10k base. The only difference in this is the U's have hand on core, so of course trading is much, much easier. When you're using your level 1 combo, you can plus a lot of cards, so if you have the advantage, you can just kind of have them out there, tank some hits, and almost guarantee to get over on your turn. Only running 3 of, again, level 2s in general though. In 4 standby, I don't think it's the best thing to commit too hard to your level 2s, especially when you have 2 really, really good early plays. So that'll be the level 2s. And now speaking of the early plays, we will go ahead and be running 3 of the Ks. Pretty standard card. It's just going to be your stock healer. Really, really strong. I'm running 3 of these specifically because As your level 3 president, you need to have 4 levels of experience in your level. So having one of these just kind of always in there, that's kind of the goal. So you're only playing really with 2 of them in your deck. And of course you don't really need more than that in a healer. So pretty standard there. Moving on to president, of course, this is your bread and butter, your best card you will run in this deck. One of the best cards Weiss has. Of course, super strong of the early play with the same effect as K. This guy just hard carried me through every matchup. You kind of just build up your entire game until you can play this. There was a lot of times where I would hit just like 2-0 or even like 2-2, really low damage in level 2, and being able to play him early while my opponent was maybe just 1-5, and then I would slowly just get an advantage randomly of just like, now my opponent's at 2-6 because I did a lot of damage in a turn. I could stand by one out because he doesn't need his climax combo, and now I'm ready again for the next turn if he does kind of climb over this, if I have the assist with a 15-5 base. So really strong, of course. I am only running 3 of these as well. Part of it was because I took one of his cards out to run the extra 1-0 version of him. And I do think that helped out a lot on making me not just int the level 1 game. So finally, moving on to our last cards will be the Kaguya level 3 climax combo, pretty standard. You never really get to tri-field this or even dual field this consistently into the late game. You do use a lot of your resources, of course, for president. Even just playing one and a clock kick is already 4 stock pitching a card. So to gain that back very quickly in 1 to 2 turns, to be able to dual field this as well as have the extra stocks for their burns, it doesn't always happen. I never really searched too hard for these. It's just more so if they came up in the hands while I had the climax, or if I had these and all I needed to do was climax swap, then I would definitely go for it, but I never committed too many resources on it. It's a super safe finisher though. If you ever need 1 to like 5 damage, it's almost guaranteed that you'll get it on that turn. So just a super strong consistent. I was considering only running 3 of these and actually 4 of the president. I didn't commit with that though, but that was a decision I made and I think it paid off decently. And of course, lastly, we do have our climaxes of just the 1K1s and your standby.
Cool. So how was your event overall?
Was really good. I think this was my first time ever playing Weiss Schwarz, not with friends. I've never been to a locals before. I've never been to any kind of like regional or like official Bushiroad tournament. And yeah, I went 5-5 for the day. Wasn't that great, of course. My matchups were pretty rough though, especially in Swiss. And I feel like adapting into top 8 was really smooth for me.
Awesome. So some of the matches, you were player C on the team. So what were some of your matchups?
Yeah, so my matchups were started off with a Data Live. I was kind of interested to see on how that would be post-ban. I knew that it wasn't going to be that great. I did get a playtest against post-ban Data Live and it wasn't that good. Was able to beat that first round as well as following the next round with a Bang Drain. Pretty standard list as well in that. Third round, I faced my first Mushoku and I kind of got stomped with it. I've never faced the deck in my life and didn't know fully what it did. I kind of got the premise of it, of just being a really strong 8 standby. Next round, faced another Mushoku. Got really close, just didn't win again. Going into then a Ruby deck, another deck that I've just never faced before, never read the cards, and lost to that one really close as well. So I was kind of like on a really bad streak there. Finally facing one of the mirrors with a very interesting deck list. Thankfully I took the one over that guy, stopped my blue streak there, went right back into another Mushoku, and ended up losing that. And then on the last one, can't remember what my last one in Swiss was. Yeah, I think it was just a random deck. It might have been the mirror again. I can't remember, but I did win it. I went 3-4 in Swiss with losing to 3 Mushokus, which is pretty rough. But going into top 8, I faced one more mirror that was a really close game, just very, very similar deck list, just didn't have the right draws, into top 4 of one of the Mushokus that I did not get to play against, but I did finally beat. As well as in finals, I faced one more Mushoku that beat me, I want to say in like round 5 or 6, and I did get my revenge, beat it, kind of overcame that hurdle with a much different play style against it. So in total, went 2-3 into Mushokus, beating out the top 4 in grand final ones. 1-1 into the mirrors, and some miscellaneous 1-0s and 0-1s.
For sure. So, so that being your first tournament and everything like that, what's next for Team Gold Canyon Gaming?
Hopefully we can be consistent with this. That is definitely the goal for it. We do still plan to work hard for it. We might be doing deck changes. Who knows? I know there will be different sets that will be out by then. Ideally, we will be there for Houston's regional. That would be the goal. There's a pretty good chance that we'll actually make it for it. But yeah, that'll be us.
All right, for sure. All right, thanks and congratulations on your win, bro.
Thank you so much.